Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. Today we have Derrick Acuff with Frequent Home Buyers, and he's here to share how he went from waiting tables to earning six figures in ultra-competitive Houston. If this is your first time tuning in, I am Steve Trang, broker and owner of Stunning Homes Realty, founder of the Offer Fast Homes app, the only app you'll need for wholesaling. And I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires, so if that's something you're interested in, let's definitely connect on Instagram. If you're excited for today's show, please give me a wave, give me a thumbs up, and as a friendly reminder, I don't charge a dime for this show. I don't make any money doing this. So here's all I ask. This is what it costs for you to listen to this show. If you get value today, please tell a friend. You can either share this episode right now, tag a friend below, or tell them your best takeaway from the show later on. That way we can all grow together. And don't forget, this is a live show, so please post your questions for Derrick to answer. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. So first question is, what got you into real estate?
Gotcha. So I would say initially it started when I was a kid, being an entrepreneur. Growing up, my grandpa always had me doing little things like picking up cans, turning them in at the end of the month, chopping wood, selling it in the winter. And then when I was around 18, I had the opportunity to move to Houston with my dad. So I packed up my car with $1,000, moved to Houston, and I was going to do the traditional route. I had always been intrigued with real estate, but I really didn't think that it would happen until, in my later 30s, I'd go to school, get a job, and then, get into real estate later. And then I went to a real estate seminar, went to a Rich Dad seminar, went through the whole sales funnel. Mm-hmm. They hit you with the free, and then you got to pay the $500. And it's funny because I didn't even have $500 at the time to go to the seminar. My friend paid. He actually didn't even end up going. Me and my fiance now went to the seminar, was sold by day two, with their whole sales process, how you talked with Chad and them about. And I was ready to commit. So we tried signing up, doing the mentorship. It was, a whopping $50,000. I had good credit at the time, but not enough credit history. But that was the biggest blessing I can say that ever happened.
Yeah.
But we still ended up, luckily my girl is a supporter. So, we ended up spending her tax return of like $2,500 on a product we didn't even need. Mm-hmm. But it was enough to get me hooked because I knew worst case I had to get her money back.
Yeah.
Or I would never hear the end of it. So yeah, we went to that seminar, came home.
And when was this?
This was in early 2015,
okay.
Around February. Came home, studied for about 8 months. I had just finished my associate's degree, and I was about to go to college to get my bachelor's. And I was like, I'm going to try this out for 2 years. If I can, make a decent, living, I'll figure out the rest. Because schooling, it's not for everybody, and it wasn't for me. So studied for 8 months, and luckily for my girl again, she gave me a swift kick in the butt one day and was like, you've been talking about this for 8 months. That's awesome. But you haven't took any action.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the hell do you study for 8 months?
Yeah, podcast. I mean, when you're new, there's so many things in real estate that you don't know where to focus. And so after about 7 months, I had gotten focused. But like I said, month 8 was when she was like, she was just very blunt with me one day and was like, you either need to take action or just, shut the F up about real estate, straight up. So I sent out letters. I sent out 30 letters. About a month later, this was at the end of 2015, I got a lady, probably the most motivated seller I've ever had. Went to her house, was freaking out. I had no idea. I was just winging it. I had no idea what I was doing. So we went over there, took the fam. We went to the lady's house. She loved us. I made a completely bogus offer. It was way too low. But for me, that's all I needed was that proof that, this it could work. I had done other things in the past. I made a little bit of money, network marketing and things like that never really showed proof. But with real estate, it was the one thing that it solidified that it did work. I just needed to put more into it. Like I said, I just sent out 30 letters. You couldn't do that today and, get a deal
You're not getting a deal
or a lead from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you made that bogus offer, and then you didn't buy that house then?
No, not at all. She kindly, said she loved us, but she would have to decline our offer. I think she got an offer for like $30,000 higher, which knowing what I know now, I know I
Yeah.
could have, paid more, but, we got to start somewhere.
All right, so tell me about your first wholesale deal.
First wholesale. So after that, I was going on appointments still, just ramping up mail. I made a commitment at the start of 2016 that I was going to go all in, whatever that looked like, consistent daily action. I was waiting tables at the time, working about 40 hours a week, and then I would have like 2 or 3 days off, and then I would just work doubles in the other one. So on my days off, I was just calling realtors for expired listings, sending out mail, calling old leads from bigger companies in town. And then around that time, I met my mentor, and he had came into my wife's shop. She was a hairstylist at the time, and told him what we wanted to do. He was not interested in helping us at all. I mean, you know how it is. Everybody wants to do real estate. So he came back in a couple months later, and he realized that we had been going on appointments. So he seen that, we were actually serious. So we went to lunch. And, those 6 months from January to June, he didn't go on every appointment, but he was there when I needed him. And it took, honestly, that 6 months. I got my first deal on my 24th birthday. We locked up the contract. And it was like the best feeling. And that deal went pretty easily, but I'm not going to lie. The week before that happened, I mentally, broke down. I just, we had been doing, when you do something every day for 6 months and you have, I'm going on appointments, but it's I've looked at, 20, 30 houses. Why isn't this working?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like that 3 feet from gold, because literally 2 days later I got a call, then we went on the appointment, and then like I said, it was a week's time, and then I got the call. My mentor locked it up and sold it that day. We made $8,000. He split that with me, and then I was off to the races from there.
Cool. So you get that first deal going. Now you're a wholesaler.
Yeah.
So what were your struggles like when you got going?
For me, I was so ready to get out of my job, so that was my main focus. So I did 2 more deals. I was 3 total. 1 was pending, and I was I'm done. I quit my job, which was a terrible decision at the time, right? And so I quit my job. I went full force. Did not allocate money correctly and went broke in about 2 months, just being completely honest. So after that, my mentor had a bunch of leads, and he told me, if you want to work these, and, I'm a hustler, so I was cold calling every day. Just, I didn't have any money, but I did not want to go back to a job.
Yeah.
So, we got a couple deals that way, and, I made some more money, put that back into marketing, built some momentum, and then got lazy and went broke again, And this is kind of those first 2 years was just working with him. I just was cutting my teeth, really, learning. There's so much you have to learn when you come from, the sales and building relationships with people. I waited tables for 5 years. I feel like that transferred easily, but learning how to build a business, manage cash flow, then also you have to pay your expenses. And, I got to give all credit to my wife, because, luckily with her having a good job and her supporting me, it's starting to pay off now, but at the time, it was a lot to manage with the money, the family life, and everything. And the first 2 years, it was just a roller coaster, just being completely honest.
Yeah, well, I think there's something to be said, right? A lot of people think once the money comes in, it's gonna be easy.
Oh yeah.
Right. Once you get the deals flowing, it's just it's all easy. But no, now you become a business.
Yeah.
And now you become a businessman, and so that's the next level.
The next level, yeah. And
challenges.
I tell people that a lot. I try to do content, and I try to let people know. I think getting your first deal is, I won't say it's super easy. To me, that's the easier part. I think finding that momentum after that is what really is where the work comes in. There's just so much to it. Like you said, you are a business, managing money, marketing costs, leads. You're doing it all. You're in charge of sales, you're
in charge of marketing, you're in charge of payroll.
Yeah, disposition, if there is payroll, if there's any leftover for payroll,
So then how is your operation different? I mean, Houston is stupid competitive. I don't know if it's as bad as here. I think it's kind of like a pissing contest between our two cities.
Gotcha, yeah.
So I don't know which one's worse, but the fact of the matter is it's terrible.
Gotcha, yeah.
So how's your business different in Houston than your peers?
Gotcha. I would say one thing that differs in our market is you guys probably have more gurus here than we do in Houston.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, but see, then, but how it differs is from us, we just, like, for instance, the last few deals that we've closed have been situations from people of other, I would say, half-ass wholesalers, right? That they make a lot of promises to people. They don't follow through. I mean, we had a deal that we started in August and we didn't close till December. We had 4 people back out. I went through 4 different buyers, learned so much, and we didn't give up on the deal. I made a promise to the guy, and I knew if it came down to it, I would close on the property. How I was taught in real estate, and just me being from East Tennessee, I am a man of my word. So if I tell you I'm going to do something, I want to do it, and especially if I'm in person. And a lot of times I think people forget you're dealing and like messing with people's lives here, and especially when it comes to like pre-foreclosures. And I see it more and more prevalent that, you know, people lock up stuff and then they just fall out. Like, you don't have the audacity to at least let the seller know, I can't close. Like, you know, I can't do what I said. You know, I've done over 40 plus deals in the last 3 years, and, you know, I've only had to back out of 2 contracts. One when I first got started because I just locked it up too high, and then one recently because the home came in. We actually paid for an appraisal. The home was like 300 square feet smaller. Obviously, that affects our numbers, but the homeowner had no idea, so she even overpaid. So, I mean, we still did what we needed to and took care of her. We lost, you know, $500-$600 on the appraisal, but I would say what separates us is we actually, you know, focus on the person. I know I hear it a lot with Pace and you guys, like, we don't make it about the house. I honestly don't care about the house at all. I want to focus on the person and help them solve those problems, because the big problems lead to big checks as well. But with wholesaling, you can make it a win-win for the seller, yourself, and the buyer. And that's the joy of this business, really.
Absolutely. So I found you, I believe, through Instagram, flipping a house.
Yes, sir.
So how much flipping are you doing, and how much wholesaling are you doing?
Got you. So the name was just generic. I needed something that worked. So I won't say I'm actually flipping a lot of houses. It would be more flipping paper. So right now we currently flip about, paper-wise, about 3 to 5 properties a month. But we are starting to get into more things as like hotels. I just bought my first rental actually last week, and I'm going to, you know, burr out of that. You know, that's the joy of wholesaling, is it gives us the ticket to all the good deals and what we decide to do with it. As we've gotten more experience and have money partners and have more options, you know, we're able to do more and, you know, maybe take over house terms or whatever that may be. You just need to be learning and evolving, really. Wholesaling is great, but it needs to be more. I know you guys, you know, you do more of the traditional stuff, and that's intriguing to me because I know there's a lot of leads that we let go, but it's like we need to find a realtor or a couple, or, you know, how can we add value to them and vice versa. I just want to be able to provide all those solutions to them.
You got to put them on payroll.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
If I was, I mean, the way I got my business is a little bit different, but if I was a wholesaler and I was just dealing with leads, I just put them on a salary. So then, are you doing more wholesaling or are you doing more flipping?
I would say more wholesaling, yeah.
More wholesale.
We've never done an actual, like, full, like, the most cosmetic work I've done on a house is to my rental. And I kind of overdid it, but I want it to last. But, you know, like, I never want to be a flipper. If I flip a house, it would be, like, something I do with my wife. We do 2 or 3 a year. It's really to just retire her. I have friends, and they flip, you know, 8 to 10, 20 properties a month. No, it's not. It's not for me.
Yeah. So I mean, like I could say for our organization, like, you know, we flip reluctantly. So I'm like the reluctant flipper. Like, we flipped it because we couldn't move it. Yeah. We couldn't wholesale it. So what does your organization look like today then?
Gotcha. Currently, we stay pretty small. It's me, my business partner Ben, and then we have 2 full-time cold callers. We're bringing on another one this week. We have like a lead manager. And then we have a couple other like VAs that'll do like smaller, like one-off tasks that we do frequently, like clean up Excel, like things that I hate doing. You know, we'll hire somebody on Upwork to do really quick. But for the most part, you know, it's mainly me and my business partner, Ben. Okay, so you said 2 cold callers. Are they in-house? No, they are virtual, yeah. Virtual in the States or overseas? So both. And cold calling, that's a whole nother topic for another day. You know, they make it seem so easy, but We've learned a lot. We've been doing it for about a good, almost a year now, and we've tried pretty much all avenues. We've found a lady that's actually lives in Ben's neighborhood. Just found her on Nextdoor. She's been amazing. And then we have an American person who lives in Costa Rica right now, and then we're bringing on some more people currently. Like I said, we're bringing on one next week from the Philippines, and if that goes well, then we're going to bring on 2 or 3 more. But yeah, definitely looking to bring more cold callers. We finally, I can say, almost figured it out. Not quite, but hopefully we can learn something from you guys while we're here.
Be careful. Every time I say I figured it out, I end up screwing something else up.
Is that right? Yeah.
So I think I want to say like 8 or 9 times. I was like, oh my goodness, I finally got it.
Yeah.
And then you get a curveball.
Yeah, and that's how it was for us. I mean, we had 2 good cold callers. Like I said, the lady that lives in Ben's neighborhood, and she performs amazing. And then, she had some family issues. And, as much as we love her, I'm still a human. Like, I'm not going to press you to work. So, yeah, like you said, every time you think I think that's business and life in general, right?
Yeah, I posted something the other day. One of our cold callers, and he was killing on the phones. And our buddy Jared reached out to me. He's like, "Is that guy still available?" I was like, "Get the hell out of here!"
Right.
Okay, so your leads manager, how did you find them?
We found them through just ads running through people on Upwork. That's another task. Hiring VAs. You're probably going to go, hire 5. 2, my last one will actually stay with you guys long term. We found them just posting an ad through Upwork, and then they just do a lot of follow-ups, touching base with some of our buyers. And then, as we get into more things such as texting and stuff like that, they'll be managing some of that. And we'll probably bring on some people to handle those leads as well.
Okay. And then do you have any dispositions?
You're looking at it right here. Okay. Yeah, so with our structure, Ben is pretty much first contact on the phone. We still go on appointments together if he can't make it, one of us will go. Because I still, that's my favorite part. That's where I shine. I hate doing cold calling and Excel spreadsheets. I just want to be belly to belly.
You don't like that?
No, you're right. So, I want to be in front of the person. I want to solve their problems with waiting tables. Like I said, I can deal with any personality, and, studying and getting better at my closing skills and being a better problem solver, really. We've done deals where you got to move people or, elderly people, whatever it takes to get the deal done. But for me, mainly I'm dispositions, though. Like when it comes to selling deals, like that's mainly my department. I blast out the deals, take care of the buyers when they perform, when they don't. That's pretty much all me.
Interesting. And what's funny is I was talking with Max last week on the show, is that we'll post things on Instagram. It's like, locked up another one. And we just take just a picture of the house or a video of the house from the outside, locked up another one. And he'll get calls. So that's our disposition these days is like Instagram stories. It's kind of crazy.
I use Instagram for so many things, and that is starting to happen a lot more with us. Like recently, a hotel we did, just by walking it and making the video, I had like 4 people before I even left the house hit me up.
I know, it's nuts.
And then the joy of people bringing you free lead sources too. We've started to do some free events and stuff like that. Just really leverage that and be able to help create those win-win solutions for people that may be newer. To be able to help them succeed, really.
What has been your best marketing technique?
Right now, what's working best for us, it would be cold calling. But we do it all, like direct mail. We do SEO a little bit, RVM, and like I said, we're about to start doing some text and stuff like that. But cold calling has probably been the best one. It's for the last year, even when Ben had a job. I mean, he locked up a $27,000 assignment on his lunch break, literally, and I went out there and locked it up on site. But I would say cold calling for sure.
Awesome. And then German Soros wants to know, are you licensed?
No, sir. I never want to. It's not for me. And we work with realtors, though. We do have MLS access and all that. But
I don't think you're supposed to say that on air.
Okay.
What is your specialty?
My specialty? I would say my gift of gab and connecting with people. I'm a really good listener. I love meeting new people. Having new experiences. I can pretty much connect with anybody. If I can't connect with you, it's probably not me, just being honest. But I would say that's my superpower, being understanding and making things happen out of nothing, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you pulling data right now?
Right now, we do a lot from the county and list source, but we try to get those lists from the county. But as we're starting to pull more data, list source, and then I think Jesse and Evo and them are coming out with something as well that might be able to assist us. So, but right now, mainly list source and from the county, and then just cleaning those up. I mean, that's the best data.
Okay. And then what are you using to skip trace?
Batch. Yeah, all day. We've used several other services, but based on price and results, batch all day. And then those guys are pretty awesome too. So,
yep, they're okay. They're all right.
They're cool.
Who's in charge of the KPIs?
That is Ben's department, and I do not want anything to do with it. There's certain things that I look at just to make sure everything is flowing. Like I was telling Jesse, number of calls per day, and then how many leads we're bringing in. But that area is not our strongest suit as we're trying to scale, and that's something that we're trying to really dial in on. But that's what we do know and keep track of. That's been all day.
Awesome. And what markets are you guys in?
Houston. I only want to be in Houston. I do not want to, once we have things secured there, then maybe we could look at San Antonio or Dallas, maybe Austin. But Houston is so big, and I look at what you guys are doing here, and we're even bigger, and it's just like there's so much left on the table that we're not even scraping the surface.
How much are you guys spending a month on marketing?
Marketing, I would say all our costs and everything is around like $3,500 to $5,000 depending. But that is, like I said, about to double. We need to make ourselves uncomfortable to be able to. We've been sitting at the 3 to 5 leads, for the last like 6 months or deals per month. And that's why we came out here, right? To learn and to be able to go to that next level. And I know a lot of that has to do with our own, a lot of times as entrepreneurs and people in general, we get in our own way and we get comfortable, and we've gotten comfortable, and we need to get uncomfortable again. But we try to run pretty lean. Like I said, it's usually around $5,000, and then, whatever we make, we'll just cut ourselves out of the deal. But we're about to start taking a salary and have a full-fledged business, I would say.
I've heard people say that once you start paying yourself a salary, that's when you have a real business.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to push us to go. I mean, there's no excuses because we both have families to feed. So,
yeah. Guys, don't forget this is a live show, so please, if you got questions, fire away. What is your monthly overhead?
Well, that's what I'm saying. With marketing and everything, it's around $5,000, and then, like I said, if we get a deal, we'll base the split on how big the deal is, and a majority of it really goes. I mean, we don't really pay ourselves much now, which is why we're looking to get a salary and all that. But I mean, a majority of the money goes back into the business, and we try to run lean. We don't have an office; we work from home. I mean, we just try to stay as lean as possible.
Okay. Are there any CRM tools or systems that you cannot live without?
Yeah, I would say Podio, obviously, keeping track of everything. I know before we just had Excel spreadsheets, yellow letters everywhere, we use, like, if I'm out quickly, obviously I use Redfin Zillow just to get an idea of a lead. I would say MLS. I'm trying to think. I think those are probably the major ones. Now with rentals, I mean, I use other little apps like Quicken Loan, like just calculating what the mortgage would be and, certain things like that. Yeah, I'd say that would be the major ones.
All right. Pedro wants to know, are you text blasting right now?
We are not, but we will be starting next week. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What do you plan to do if the market takes a dip?
I would say solve more problems, and hopefully by then have a lot more cash to buy a lot more rentals, really, at a discount. And but I mean, that's the joy of wholesaling. It doesn't really depend on where the market's at. I mean, we can still solve problems. There's going to be more people in need. I mean, even in Houston, there's still people. Harvey was 2+ years ago, and there's still people that have no idea what they're gonna do. They're living in an RV in their driveway. I mean, we looked at a flooded home a week and a half ago, and it's just been sitting. So I would just say, like, when that was something new that we had to learn. Like, I knew nothing about floods or flood insurance or elevation certificates and like all these things. I think you just adapt really with whatever the market throws at you. But I mean, with wholesaling, it gives you, that access to the deals for you really to decide what you want to do. But I say just buy more houses. That's the plan.
So you were saying there are RVs parked in the driveway because the house is not livable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like an excellent opportunity for driving for dollars.
Yeah, it is for sure. I think a lot of these people, up until this point, were in belief that they were going to get money, but a lot of them, insurance. I mean, we've bought deals. The first deal that Ben and I did, the people brought $30,000 to the table. They wanted to be out, but for them that was a win. But yeah, like there's people living in RVs, some living in like treehouse. Like it's pretty bad, but it's coming to the point where they realize you're gonna have to make a move because no one's gonna help you. FEMA and all these other places. Some homes have flooded 3-4 times. I mean,
were you gonna say treehouse?
Yeah,
people living in a treehouse.
I've seen some interesting things. I mean, I think these people, they just weren't prepared, and a lot of people didn't have flood insurance, so like the effects are still being felt. The last hotel deal that we did was a hoarder home that flooded in Harvey and had just been sitting since then. So the smell alone, like that's where we could start. But like the fact that they just let this house sit for 2.5 years, and then with the humidity and mold. And
are you walking in like a hazmat suit?
I only walked the house like twice with the mask and everything. And unfortunately, that's solving these problems and learning these personalities. You're going to deal with people that you never thought that you were going to deal with. And when it comes to people like hoarders, that like that is a mental disability. And like that lady was there, 70 years old, on top of the trash cans every day, digging, still trying to take things that she wanted. That was really the only reason we closed on the home, was because the seller was such a hassle. We had to get her out of the picture. That deal, though, what we thought we were going to make and what we were actually going to make, that's the reality of it. We're not going to make nearly enough, but we still solved a problem. We learned a lot of lessons.
What were you anticipating making?
So originally, we were looking at making about 25 on the deal.
And you ended up making
the realistic of it is we made $5,000 on the deal. Yeah. But that's the reality of real estate. But we don't beat each other up. Hey, look, these are the lessons that we learned from that. But at the end of the day, I'll make that up on another deal. I mean, that deal we made $5,000 and it sold, and then the next week we locked up a house we didn't think we were going to make anything on, and we did a $25,000 assignment, right? So It's like it always takes care of itself. I think if you buy right, as long as I break even, I'm good, right?
Right.
So if I buy right, we're good. But the main thing is, what did we learn from this, right? Because we're still, being just 3 years in, I'm still learning a lot about real estate, business, life, and myself. So as long as we take those lessons and apply it, to the future deals, I'll chalk it up.
Have you tried climbing up into a treehouse to knock on the door?
And to knock on the I have not. But
Is that really Ben's?
Yeah, he's a little bit taller than me, and he's a little bit lighter too. So the treehouse would probably hold him before it would me. So
yeah. JJ Simmons says that he needs to reach out to Bashkip. So Jesse, reach out to JJ Simmons. Make sure you use the code RED, JJ. Lee, do you prefer wholesale or wholesale?
To me, I guess it just depends on the situation, to be completely honest. I'll wholesale all day, but you are going to have those situations where if you can make an extra, we've done, that was our second hotel. The first hotel that we did was a similar situation, flooded home. We put $1,000 into it. We sold it within 2 weeks. Like, we were in the deal from contract to relisting in 5 weeks, and we made $30,000, right?
Yeah.
For me, that was worth it. Now, we could have wholesaled that deal and made $10,000 and been in and out, but we had the money to use, and we saw the potential. So we've gotten tighter on our parameters of the hotels, especially since this last scenario. Mm-hmm. But I'll wholesale all day, but if it makes sense, I will wholesale. So I guess whichever makes me the most money and the least amount of time.
It's kind of like cherry picking the deals.
The deals, yeah, absolutely.
Leslie wants to know, do you have virtual assistants?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, our cold callers are virtual. Our lead manager, she's virtual. And then all the other VAs, they're in the Philippines as well.
And Rosero wants to know, do you worry about wholesaling dying down?
No, not at all. This is a funny question for me because, like I said, we just did a free event. Like, we made like one post, did a shadow event, and I had all these people come out, and it was an amazing experience. But it was funny because after that, like that day, I had all these people DM me and message me like, aren't you scared about like creating competition and like about wholesaling dying? Or like we went on an appointment before I came here and they had open door and like, we have all these things happening. I'm not worried about it because I think abundance mentality. If I worry about that today, then, I'm going to drive myself crazy. Like I have a million other moving pieces. Will certain things change? Possibly, with people doing, sketchier things with us. You got to learn to adjust with the market. And, now we're at a point where if they do, we'll just wholesale more things. We'll just adjust with the market, buy more rentals and be lazier. I don't know.
Yeah. Jesse and I have talked about this, where like even if it did die, we're surrounded by the smartest people.
Exactly.
In the valley. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think me and one of my good friends who's like slowly becoming an entrepreneur, we talk about this. There's a loophole in everything in life in general and everything that we do. And there will always be people that are kind of like a middleman that can solve those problems. I have a good friend who does the same thing but does it with used books and just resells, and there's always going to be a way to make money,
right?
In real estate for sure, because there's always going to be people with problems, life problems.
Sam Velasquez wants to know: do you maintain a big buyers list, or do you deal with just a handful of good buyers?
Got you. So for us, we have I would say 5 to 10. They buy consistently. They're going to close. It's no issue. So I usually shoot it to them first. Honestly, I have one guy who buys about 80% of our deals, and if not, sometimes he'll just add a couple thousand, and he has like students he helps, and he'll get the deal done. So he usually gets first dibs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Closing 80% of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then if not, then the next, I always just let them know, hey, you have 24 hours. And then, we do have a buyer's list of around 7,000. But, out of those numbers, maybe, it's all a numbers game. So, out of those people, but we do get new buyers or realtors that, we met a lady who's actually a contractor, and she's saved us on a couple of deals. Like she connected us with the lady who's going to do the $25,000 assignment, and she saved us on that deal where I said, 4 people backed out. She randomly brought in a guy like the day before, paid cash, close. So, like you said, I just try to surround myself with people that are better than me because I'm not the smartest guy. Like I said,
Keisha wants to know, when did you hire a VA, or I guess probably more along the lines of when did you know it was time to hire a VA?
Whenever I didn't hire a VA until I was 2.5 years into the business. Mm-hmm. I probably should have hired one way before. I have control issues. Now I love giving things off, but at the time I think it's when it becomes a nuisance to you where it's like, hey, like for me it was like I'm spending 3 hours going through probate records. I'm going through like 300 records to get 40 names for 3 hours when I could be cold calling, or I could be doing something that's, I could afford to pay somebody $15 a week. I think when it becomes a nuisance, but until you give it off, you need to be doing it yourself. I mean, even for instance, now with the content creation and what my partner and myself are doing, getting into YouTube and things like that, for the next 6 months to a year, I'm going to be editing all the videos and stuff because you can't give something off to someone else if you don't know what you like or what you expect to them. I was talking to Jesse earlier and they were going over KPIs, and that's literally what we talked about is like, you need to have these numbers because if they don't know what they're supposed to hit, they're definitely not going to hit it. I know our first cold caller, right, as an example, she worked for us for 6 months. We never looked at any numbers, right? Like nothing.
Wow.
We got one deal from her. We made like 25 grand. So she paid for herself. But when we actually sat down, looked at the numbers, she was only supposed to be calling like 15 hours a week. For the 6 months, she never even called for 15 hours. But we never knew. We never looked. So I would say when it's like overwhelming for you, that's when you're getting in your own way.
Sam Velasquez wants to know, is building a rental portfolio something you're building simultaneously?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the last 8 months, we've just met some people that have really changed our outlook on creating that residual wealth and in the back of my mind, I always think things are going to go wrong. So how you said about wholesaling going away, if it does, I don't want to have to worry about it. You know, we have some family friends and people like that, you know, they $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month in residual income. Just having that to have yourself set up is definitely where it's at. And you can, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into it, my rental deal, but it's like the most amazing bird deal. And I will literally have no money out of pocket. I'll make like 30 grand and I'll cash flow like $600 a month. Like, who wouldn't do that deal? Right. You know, 4 or 5 more of those and I'm pretty good. Like, we live below our means, but, you know, not in debt. So, you know, just thinking of having that money coming in. I mean, and as wholesaling, you're the avenue of where the deals come from. And in that scenario with that deal, I was still able to pay Ben a $10,000 assignment. So it's like, you know, creating those win-wins and setting yourself up for that long-term generational wealth. Because at the end of the day, wholesaling is a job.
Jovan wants to know, what are the tasks for the lead manager?
It's to follow up. Like, she has her tasks daily that get sent automatically with Podio based on, you know, follow-ups. And then when she's through with that, she will go into calling. She has a certain amount of buyers that she will call just to build that relationship with them, see if they're buying. Like, we just pulled a list of, you know, people that bought cash properties in the last year. And, you know, so we're just trying to build that bigger buyers list because I'm also like really intrigued by like Keegley and like selling other people's deals. Like, I used to do that, but the way I did it was a headache. If I can set that up to do it where you bring me the deal and I'll just sell it and, you know, maybe we make 4 or 5 grand, but if we do that 20 times a month and didn't spend any money on marketing, that's the idea. But I will always, like I said, have those true cash buyers that I have a relationship with.
I think, you know, what Keegley does makes a lot of sense in Phoenix, or it does make sense in Phoenix. And I would say you could probably do the same exact thing in Houston because it's a very comparable market. Kenny Cash wants to know, what's the biggest assignment fee you've earned? And if you don't want to answer that, you don't have to.
Yeah, no, I mean, compared to some of the people that I've met being here, it's probably not that big, but I would say 40,000 was our biggest assignment.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that was another one of those solving problems. The guy was literally, he's dying. He has cancer. Ben spent about 3 months not even talking about the property. He literally, like, almost every time he was just life consulting with his wife. Them crying on the phone. They lived in San Antonio. They had this property and it had been rented out to what they thought was 3 people. When Ben went to walk the property, I think I was out of town. There was 11 people actually living there. Sketchy meth head type characters. But we went in, was like, hey, you know, we solved the problem. We're going to buy the house. We actually didn't have to pay anything for moving. They were actually happy to get out. And the guy I sold the deal to was that guy. He brought in one of his students, and I just talked to him, and it's pending, and he's gonna make 70 grand, right? Like, that's the joy of what we do, creating those win-wins. They were able to get some money, you know, to finish out his life and live, you know, fruitfully with his wife and enjoy it. We were able to get a new start for the sketchy people. We made a, you know, handsome assignment, and we know we were able to, you know, he's gonna make even more than us, which is I love to see. I love seeing people win. So.
Yep. Jesse Bundock wants to know, what type of data are you pulling from the county?
We just the main, like, tax default, code violation, evictions, and then we just got the water shutoff list, which I thought was something hard to get because we have a bunch of mud districts in Houston. But I met one of my followers because of Instagram, and he was just like, hey, thank you for the content. Here's this list of like 9,000 names.
Mud?
So, mud, yeah. I don't want to murder it. It's like municipal something district.
Okay.
But in how Houston is set up, basically each neighborhood has their own mud district. So you can imagine when you have 7 million people living in and around Houston, how many different mud districts. But he found a way to get the list, and now he sent me the contact. And I mean, it's usually the same thing. You pay $15 to $100, whatever their fee is. You do an open request form and just go talk to them. And a lot of times people are like, you can't find it. I'm like, you probably gave up. One person told you no. Like, if you're giving up now, you're probably not going to last in wholesaling because you're going to, you know, call 4 or 5 people. But if I could give a tip to that is when you do find the right person, because they usually update them every 6 months to a year, take them a $10, $15 Starbucks gift card. They'll remember you. It'll be a lot easier next time, and they get free coffee. So that's you know, solving problems.
Keisha wants to know, what's your favorite lead source?
Cold calling. Yeah, cold calling. I don't know if she's referring to a list, but it would probably be tax default, but cold calling.
You guys in Texas are really, really in love with those tax defaults. I wish we
yeah.
had. I think that's like the best list from
Yeah.
what I hear. And LaRon Mitchell wants to know, how often are you pulling data?
It depends on the list. Like I said, so for tax default, we're doing that about every 8 months. The code violation and water one, I think they updated every 6 months. So that every 6 months. And then with list source, depending on the list, I mean, we're just pulling more and more data. So that's actually happening like every month. And it's probably, it's only going to increase as we're doing other, lead sources.
So what is your why?
My why, I would say, obviously I have the fam to support, but I just want to live an amazing, adventurous life. Like I said, I come from a small town in Tennessee. It's very, Monday through Friday. You usually work at a factory or Walmart, there's nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes I really wish that I could live like that. However, most people never leave this like 5-mile radius, so they don't know what's possible. So for me, getting to travel more, the fact that, I can do this midweek and like my business partner is about to join me and, just live an exciting life and just not settle for like average. I just don't want to get to the end of my life and have regret. That's like scares the shit out of me. Like it's so bad.
And what is your biggest struggle right now?
Getting that next level, breaking the 3 to 5, like I said, not spending enough money. I mean, if I look at it, it's probably just not spending enough money and building the infrastructure. So hopefully, over the next couple of days, we can learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And take it to the next level.
Walder wants to know, how are you paying the lead manager?
She's just hourly. Yeah.
Noel wants to know, are you using the Texas real estate contract to lock up?
Trek, yeah, absolutely. It's the only thing that I learned on. And one time I was with a gentleman, the guy who actually buys a lot of deals. I was showing him a house, and he was about to go lock up another property. And he met the seller, and he got a 1-page contract out. Excuse me. And the guy was like, no, I need a Trek. So I'd never used one, but that just confirmed everything that I thought. But I think it just looks more professional. I don't know what your all state contract, but ours is 10 pages long. A majority of it has to do with realtors. But I mean, if you guys need help with it, you can DM me, message me. I'll be happy to send some links. And, you just got to dumb it down to a cash sell. What
is the greatest lesson you've learned?
Not to give up on myself, my business. And some of my greatest moments have come right after I pretty much, like the second time after I went broke, I was literally about to get another summer job just to pay for marketing costs. And I was betting it all on one deal that we had was actually from one of my old managers. And, we were probably still a month out from closing. And I just told my mentor, like, hey, I'm probably going to have to get a job till we can close this deal. And he wrote me a check for $5,000 and was just like, real estate investors don't have summer jobs. And like, I keep that in my office because like I don't do it as much anymore, but a lot of times I used to just give up. Like I said, I was always like 3 feet from gold, like 3 feet from there. And I guess sometimes people see more in me than I see in myself. So we need to have more self-belief. I don't think that's just for me. I think that's for everybody, because you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but if you just surround yourself with people that are better than you, they want to see you succeed, for sure.
Absolutely. What's your favorite, best, or most interesting failure?
Ooh. I would say favorite would be probably that first contract that I had to back out of, to be honest. That was so humbling of an experience. I'd built such good rapport with that gentleman, and then having to tell him that I wasn't going to be able to keep my word, like I still have nightmares about that call. But it makes me not want to do it. And now, like I said, most of the deals that we deal with, like the last 3 or 4 have been people that weren't able to perform, and they have this terrible taste, and then you're able to step in and, they're just so happy that you were able to help them with their problem, and you can usually make good money doing it. So I would say just learning from those tough, situations that you have to lean into, that you don't want to do those phone calls, like just lean in, just do it. And
Noel wants to know, how many hours are you working a week right now?
I'm always working, to be honest. I love real estate. I love business. I love creating things. If I had to put a time, I don't know, 40, 50 hours. But to me, I don't view it as work. I love what I do. I love creating content. I love meeting sellers. I love solving problems. I love cashing big checks, you know. I love learning lessons even when it's hard and it sucks. I love the game, to be honest. So, yeah.
So talk about creating content. I mean, obviously that's, like I said, that's how I found you, right? So talk about creating content.
Yeah, I think with the internet, we're at a time where like you can become, it's a good and a bad thing, right? So let's start there. You can be any person you want, whether that's fake or real. For me, what you see is what you get. I think how we met originally, and I was telling Jesse this earlier, is like, I messaged you like 7 months ago because I tagged you and was like, hey, I'm going to be on your show one day, right? And then we were able to meet in Dallas and like just stayed in contact. Like, to me, that is the power of the internet. But I also know I have value to add. I know my story will resonate with someone. And I think a lot of times for people to believe in things, they just need someone that looks like them or is similar. And that's what I always tell people is like, I'm just a regular guy. Like, there's nothing like, it took me 4 years to get a 2-year degree. And I know I had to pay out of pocket and it sucked, but you know, like, I'm not the brightest guy, but I hustle and I truly like taking care of people. So with content, it just, you know, opens that door. You know, I love meeting people, you know, going to We Live, meeting you guys, meeting, you know, some of our followers, like the messages that I get from people, you know, that's something money can't buy. And it's something that, like, when I first got started, all I had was like Sean Terry, and you know, I had podcasts, but he wasn't really creating content even like he is now. So I just want to be relatable. I want to, you know, I see so much power in it as well, to the doors and the avenues that it's opened, even with me like consistently doing it for 8 months, and it's only going to get bigger. Where it's going to take me, I have no idea, but as long as I can impact others and truly like help change people's lives, that's all that matters to me. So, but it's powerful.
How much time do you put on it? Like, is there like an intentional, like, I got to block off this time for this, for creating content?
It's starting to get like that now as I'm getting into YouTube, and like, you know, I love shooting, but I hate editing, right? But once again, it's one of those things like I got to do until I can't no more. So right now I'm starting like on Sundays, I'll make a bunch of posts, like, you know, 5 to 10 posts, and then sometimes it changes, and then, you know, throughout the day, I'm probably on my phone more than I need to be because I'm looking at analytics and like, you know, did this work? And like, I study it way more than I should, but
I mean, I did notice on your profile, I mean, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
You're intentional with it.
Yeah, I've met some people too that, you know, they were like, hey, I see what you're doing, let me give you some advice, right? And I think that's another thing, being humble enough to listen to people. I know, like I said, being in my small town, everybody acts like they know everything when really nobody really knows anything. And, you know, for me, I try to be a humble person. I try to listen. Like, if I'm in the room and people that are where I want to be, I'm not talking. Like, you probably wouldn't even notice I'm in there. I mean, I'm a big guy, so you're gonna see me, but you know, I just I like learning, and you know, I'm very intentional with what I do and what I put out. But I just want people to know that, like, you know, what you see is what you get. Like, I'm not out here fronting. Like I said, I live way below my means. I drive a $1,500 cash car. Like, no, I do want nicer things, but I'm sacrificing, you know, now for, you know, my mid 30s, or, you know, whatever that looks like, or wherever I'll be in 5 years, who knows?
That's awesome. Walter wants to know, how do you keep your cold callers accountable?
That's all. I would say tracking numbers, like, start there, make sure they're doing it. It's a lot of training up front. We just try to make sure that they know, you know, what our standards are, what we expect of them. And even when, you know, they're not performing, you don't have to like get down their throat like, hey, you're really screwing up. Just, hey, you know, like, talk to them. Why isn't this? And you learn, like, you know, one of our callers the other day, we're probably gonna have to replace him just because he's going to college now. So the other day he only called for an hour. I'm like, hey man, like, you only called for an hour, you know, you usually call like 8. What's going on? So, you know, training for sure. Make sure they're making, like, I know ours, you know, we have a certain amount of calls. They're supposed to make around 150 to 200 calls an hour. So we know that number. and staying in contact with them, and also don't like treat them like employees as well, because that's what they are. Don't just numbers. Like, hey, how's your family? Like I said, we have one lady who had family issues. Like, we still check on her and her mom. Just treating them actually like people, but also let them know their requirements, and every day or once a week at least looking at the numbers, because the numbers don't lie.
Well, I think there's a huge nugget there, because I had this problem for a little bit where I felt like, God, I hate micromanaging. I hate holding them accountable. I don't want to scream at them. I'm not a screamer.
Yeah.
But what I found was, hey, remember how we said you're supposed to call this many hours a week? I'm looking at the notes here. It's not. What's going on? And it only takes 2 of those conversations for them to just like, hey, I'm not a fit for this operation.
Yeah.
They'll self-eliminate. You don't have to fire
Quickly,
them. You have.
yeah.
They don't want to have that third conversation. It's like, hey, what's going on with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you see them, like, so I know for us, like I said, the guy, he's a little bit younger, and when we hired him, they told us he worked for another company and he quit, and basically they went their separate ways. And I think for us, what we found out was like they probably felt he wasn't performing, but they also probably didn't give him the tools. So for us, at first, like he was our cold caller that calls for 4 hours was making more calls than him, and he was calling in 8 hours. Mm-hmm. So it was like that, hey, maybe you could do a little bit more, and he did. And then it was like, hey, I'm just going to give you the numbers. Like, you called for 8 hours and she called for 4. Why did she make, say 1,000 and you only made 600? Like, that's not even like trying. Like, especially when you're on like a triple line dialer, or, now they have call tool, like you can go up to 10, lines. So it's like, let the numbers speak. And then literally like 2 days later, his calls doubled, right? But he probably never had that accountability. But I didn't necessarily get jump down his throat, but
you don't have to. Well, that's Laron makes a good point here. Everyone encounters problems in life events.
Yeah.
Right, and that's for some of these people that they get all like what's the word I'm looking for? Self-pity.
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like, look, everyone's got problems.
Yeah.
Don't bring that to work.
And that's knowing your personality types, knowing that humans are emotional creatures. Even I still get emotional about it. Like,
right.
We're all emotional. It's just some people are better at handling that, and whether that's how they were raised or whatever it is, you just, even dealing with sellers or whatever it may be in this business, you have to learn to deal with those. And if you do, you'll be a better leader, and be able to give constructive criticism and keep them held accountable without them like, I hate my life and this job, I don't want to, because it's hard, man. Like, there's a reason I don't sit on the phone for 8 hours and call people. I did that for a year straight. Like, it's not where it's at all.
So let me take a moment here real quick. I mentioned last week with Max on the show, we're doing a workshop on May 25th. It's an all-day event. So if you guys are interested in that, please text Disruptor Workshop to 345-345. We're going to be going over the perfect seller appointment, as well as all the systems that we're using to do deals in competitive Phoenix. And then next week we got Antoine Campbell flying in from the Maryland, D.C. area, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice.
He's a fun dude. Did you hang out with him in Dallas?
I felt like I missed out on the Willie kid. Like, I didn't know about him. I was so inspired by his story. Like, that many deals so young. Like, those are the, like, because I'm still kind of young, but like when you hear that, it's like,
when you're bringing your brother to sign contracts, like, you're young.
But that just shows though there's no excuse. Like, there's literally there's no reason you can't be successful in this business.
So if someone want to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
I would say Instagram. It's Flipping a House. My business partner Ben buys houses. Hopefully we can get him on the show in the future.
He's got some periods in there, right? What is it?
Yeah, it's like Ben buys houses period, whatever it is.
I think Instagram like that makes a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, like, any questions, anything I can do to help. Like, I try to answer all my DMs. I try to do lives. I'm gonna try to do more instructional type things. But I just want to help preferably younger people, but anybody that wants to succeed. I have a guy that came to our free event. He messaged me 6 months ago and was giving me all these excuses. And just note, if you message me, like, I'm gonna give it to you exactly how somebody may not, like, they may have been scared to tell you.
I've got that same problem too.
And he told me, hey, I'm scared of, I want to flip houses, but I'm scared of taking on risk, basically is what he was saying, which pretty much we're in a high risk business, high risk, high reward. And I was like, look, if you're scared of risk, you're never, this business isn't for you. And he went out the next week, found a deal, and got hard money. So just know I will give you a swift kick in the ass if you DM me some dumb stuff.
That was like Gary Vee, right? When the guy's like, I hate cold calling. He's like, well, then leave.
You just don't. Why are you here? Yeah.
All right. So last parting message for the listeners.
I would say believe in yourself and know that if a regular guy from a small town in East Tennessee, I literally started this business putting $200 a month in marketing costs. If I can make it happen, you can too. And like with the internet, there's no excuse. Like there's kids making millions that are 16, doing reviews on YouTube. There's just have a no excuse mentality and just like go out and make it happen and like get outside of your comfort zone. Like it's whatever you're scared of, lean in. Like just lean in. It's not as bad as you think, I promise. It's never gonna be that bad.
I think that's a great message. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you. This was awesome.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.